Hi, hello, vanakkam, and welcome back to yet another episode on your favorite Little Law YouTube channel. So today in this video, we're going to see another interesting topic, which is a question that's been normally asked like multiple times, but then I can give them an approximate number. But now we're going to see the exact number, or this is going to be a number where we're going to find like how many virtual users for JMeter can be handled by a single machine, because we know that for near load and for load runner we do have load generators, but for JMeter as an open source tool, so we can run it either through Azure DevOps or through GitHub runners, or we can even run it via Jenkins or even GitLab. But still, there are few options. Like there are a few people who still use their machine to run the JMeter by using master slave combination. And yeah, in fact, I have even demoed a video on how to run load test using GitLab. So if you haven't watched that, I mean, integrating GitLab plus JMeter, because going forward, people have started using a lot of GitLab and GitHub related, I mean, the cloud related repository. So that will be more helpful for you. If you haven't watched it, please do watch the video. And then this video coming back, talking about how many users can a machine handle. I mean, like one, it can be even a virtual machine, or it can be even a physical machine, a laptop or a server machine. So based on calculating the machine's RAM, its CPU, and the storage and the network and the environment, so which environment the machine is hosted, by calculating all these, we're going to find how much how many virtual users, or how many virtual users can be handled by a particular machine for JMeter. So before moving to that, let me take you through the, so let me open my task manager. So I'm going to use my machine for giving you a demo on this part. So here, if you see, I haven't yet started the JMeter. So all you can see here is 15% of CPU is being used. So let me quickly open my notepad and I'll note this down for you, or I can even open the Excel sheet. So on an average, you can see that my machine, I mean a very normal machine, even before I open JMeter, any instance, or how many instances, like whatever we can use. So before I open JMeter and before I do any test, I currently have around an average of like anywhere between 11 to 15, 11 to 20. So I just make this 15% of CPU is being used, and the memory. So the memory is actually now you can see, I can almost see that I'm accessing like almost 76%. So let me make this 75%. So overall, before I even open JMeter, before I even run any test, the overall CPU and memory is about 15 to 15%. The memory is like 70%, and the disk is 0% for now, and then the network is again 0%, right? And now what I'll do is, let me open my JMeter. So while opening JMeter, I'll show you how what happens. So let me have it here. Let me have this one here, and then let me open the JMeter. So now you can see on the right side how much CPU does it access and how much does it use. So I'm opening the JMeter, and currently there will be a spike. Yes, that's an expected one. There will be a spike, but still we wanted to calculate the steady state, because we all know whenever a process gets started, automatically it will bring in more services, it will bring in more processes. So that's the reason you can see that now it has been even spiked to even 40%, right? So just to show you, we initially started with just 15%, and now after opening the JMeter, I've opened the JMeter, and you can very well see it here. So after I opened the JMeter, let me just move to this side of the screen. Yeah. So after I opened the JMeter, and currently the CPU is around 24%. And let's find the JMeter process. So let me click on, so Java is the one. No, here's that one. Yep. So let me click on that. Yeah. So here we have the Java process, which actually takes around, so the CPU for now it's taking 0%. There's not much CPU that's been used, but then the memory that it is taking is around 603, like 603 MBPS is being used. So while I open JMeter, it is not taking any extra CPU, but I mean I would say like 0%, but the memory it's around like 600 MB. So let me just mark it as 600 MB. And to give you an idea, so the overall memory of this machine is I have around like 16 gig, and out of, okay, let me give it here. So overall I have I can go to the performance, and here you can see I have around 15.7%, sorry, 15.67 GB of memory, and the CPU currently overall it's like 16, but then 300 MB by default it will be taken, and then some more memory for the system. So overall, out of this, out of 16 gig, I'm accessing 600 MB, which is actually a big number. So if, say for example, out of, if I'm accessing like, if it's a 10 gig, and which is I'm accessing almost 10%, so it's into like 15%, so I'm accessing almost like 7 to 8% of memory is being accessed. I'm using it as part of my JMeter processes. Let me again go back, so now it would be in the steady state. Java, yep, it's still handling too much of memory, but that's fine. So the next thing is we have to look at the, okay, so you see here it's still accessing around like 600 MB. That's fine. So the next thing is like we're going to see how much memory does it take while running the load test. So let me open a quick JMeter script. Let me bring all these to the top of the screen. Yeah, so it's on the top second after the Edge browser. So yeah, we all know Edge browser takes too much of memory. But yeah, coming back to this JMeter, so it actually gets more, like if I after I opened the project, it's taking too much of memory now. And let me do a quick run. So what I'm doing is I'm running a 10 user thread with 200 iterations to have better view. So I've started the test, it's running, and now here you can see, so starting from 600 MB, so now we can see it actually crosses around 100 to 150 MB for just one user, right? I mean, like, I can even take it as like from 50 to 100 MB on an average, or like 150 MB on average. And this is for 10 users. So for 10 users of load test, just to show you, so for 10 users of load test, my system is taking 100 to 250 MB. So for 10 virtual users, and this is for a very simple script, the CPU is around 2% and the memory is around, I would say like subtracting from 600, I would measure like 150 MB, right? So now you are very clear. So here we have got the real number, like for 10 users, I have got 2% of memory is being used, and an average of 150 MB of data is being used, right? This is for a simple script. So in various measurements I have calculated from moderate script, it will actually take up to and again this is for 10 virtual users, this would range up to like more than 200 MB or close to 300 MB is what happens. 300 MB for a moderate script, and for a very complex script where you use when I say a moderate script, it involves HTTP requests with assertions, with headers, and with extensions. So when I come with the complex script, so they have JDBC request, FTP request, and extensive scripting where you use pre-processors, post-processors, controllers, and every other options that you have to, but again the process is to make the script better, and that is actually around 4 times of your simple user. So with 10 users that would be around 600 MB, and when it comes to the CPU, it would range around like 4%, and then here it would range around 8%. So this is what actually happens when I run a load test using JMeter with 10 virtual users. So by default, we normally don't do the test with just one user. Again, it's not going to make any sense. So this is what happens. So when I calculate, so for example, like I have just imagine that I don't have any other thing. I close every other processors. I just have only my JMeter. It's a, just imagine if it's a dedicated machine where I have around say for example the overall is around 16 gig of memory, and the reserved and the system, sorry, the system takes up to like 2 to 3 gig, and the RAM which I have, sorry, so the overall the usable RAM is around, I would say, like close to 12 gig, right? Apart from all the other processors, everything goes, I'm just taking this one. So for the simple test that we have here, for the very simple test for just 10, I'm having for 10 users, and if I want to run it, if I want to see how many users can I handle, so in that scenario, okay, let me make it, okay, 12 gig divided by 150 MB, right? So how much do I get for every single user? So that's what I'm going to calculate. So let me simplify this down. So what I'll do is let me bring it down to one virtual user for simple script. So just imagine like for one user it will take around 15 MB of data, and for moderate it will take around 30 MB, and for complex it would take around 60 MB. So what happens is when I divide my 12 gig 12 GB of data divided by 15 MB, so how much do I get? So by calculating, so 1 gig is actually, so 1 gig is actually 1024 MB, which in case I'll be getting, say for example 12, which is 12 gig divided by 1024, which is 12288 MB, and dividing this 12288 MB divided by 15 MB, I get an approximate of 800 virtual users. So for a simple script, I can get 800 virtual users for testing. So by doing all this calculation with 12 gig, we can see that, see for example, okay, let me do it here. So for let me get it here, come on, X to D, yep. So overall with just 15 MB we can handle 800 virtual users, and this is, I'm telling, with the complete 12 gig. You cannot expect this with a machine where you are running all your processes, and you have, if you have just, say for example, if it is 80% of memory is being used, and which means I just have only 20% remaining. So 20% of 15 gig, I mean like yeah, 20% of 15 gig is around like 10% will be like 1.6, and 20% is like around 3 gig. With the 3 gig memory, you cannot expect 800 virtual users. Just remember, I'm calculating based on the entire memory, which is anything except the system memory. You cannot expect the everything outside your available memory. You cannot expect this to happen with your available random, I mean like available RAM memory, right? So just imagine, and you should not complain me that, okay, you told me that I can run again 800 virtual users, but I cannot run. Yes, you cannot run if your machine, just take your memory, just take your occupied memory, like your total memory that you are using. Anything that is remaining should be divided by the 15 MB. And coming to the moderate script, so the same thing, which is around like 12 gig divided by 30 MB of data. So it's again going to be 1024 MB, and we'll get this one 12288 12288 MB, and divided by 30 we get around an average of 400 virtual users. And this is again the same thing, you have to have 12 gig, you should not have the total 12 gig, and you should not have something like this just 80% of memory. And then again same thing, it's very important, it's very same, 12 divided by 60 MB, 12 gig divided by 60 MB, and that's going to be the 200 users, right? So this is what you're going to achieve when you're going to run a JMeter in a virtual machine where the configuration is this way. So let me bring it down here, and your overall CPU percentage, memory, and the type of script, and then the memory per virtual user, and overall we use that the system can handle if the assumption is if you have 12 gig of memory. Without that, please don't complain, you cannot run anything more or lesser than this level of user load. And there are some one more thing which we have to discuss. Let me take you through that part. And then the next thing, which is the amount of CPU that has been used by your JMeter. So in case if you have requests processing, if you are executing assertions, so that's the reason I normally tell the users to use assertions only during the validation and not during the load test, because most of the times when you're using too much of assertions, yes, it will actually demand too much of CPU. And then if you are writing any complex test scripts, like for example with any additional logics like multiple if controllers, multiple while controllers, looping, all these controllers, if you bring in, automatically there will be like too much of CPU usage. So let me just bring it down here. So while execution, yes, there will be much of CPU usage under this scenario. So that's what I'm listing it down. So where you are using too much of assertions, yes, it's good, it's to verify that your page is loading fine, but too much of assertions is bad for JMeter and for your memory. And then scripting and logic. So when you're using too much of logics, like controllers, like controller, while controller, and all these, yes, automatically there will be too much of memory, that CPU that will be consumed. And then the distributed testing. So when you are doing distributed testing, say for example when you are managing communication between master and slave, yes, there will be again too much of a CPU demand that will be taken. And coming back to this virtual user, so how many virtual users per core? Because just to show you, I have in my machine, I can show you how many cores do I have. So here you can see the average speed and everything, and yeah, I think for some reason it's not showing it. Okay, let me tell you the point here is like, yeah, when you have a CPU of multiple cores, so in that case, yeah, I have 4 core. So with this 4 cores, how much CPU can be handled? Like say for example, if you are seeing here, with just these processors, I have not even started and it's just 0%, but for some reason a simple test will actually take 100, I mean like 100 virtual users per core, per CPU core, and 40 to 60%, I mean like 40 to 50 for a moderate machine, for moderate script, and then for 15 to 20 for a complex script. So this much of load will be taken by the CPU. So let me explain you this one. Say for example, I have a 4 core machine and running like if I'm able to run, for example, like I told you, a 4 core as for the simple test, right? So when I'm running a simple test with like these many users here, so for example, yes, for a simple script, let me simple script, I have in my machine I have a 4 core simple script, if I can handle up to 100 virtual users, and an average for total machine, I can handle up to 400 virtual users. And moving to moderate script, again I have the same 4 core, and for moderate script I can handle up to 50 users. In that case I can handle 200 virtual users with the available CPU, and the same goes with the complex. In the complex I can handle up to 30 virtual users, which is, in overall I can handle up to 120 virtual users. This is how the calculation goes on. Like for example, it's not just about the RAM, it's also about the CPU, right? So the CPU plays a major role in terms of supporting your processors, supporting the memory. So overall, after combining both the memory, the RAM's capacity and the CPU's capacity, a simple script here, let me bring it down. So we'll have like simple script, moderate script, and complex script. And here we have how many users can the CPU support. So coming back to the CPU here, and then the RAM. So the CPU can support up to 400 for a simple script, and the RAM can support up to 800 users. And the moderate, when it comes to moderate, 400 plus 200 with the core I'm telling you. And then overall, if I have 200 with 120 users, so here you can calculate. So overall, a simple script I can run up to 1200 users. With the moderate I can handle up to 600, and with the complex I can handle up to 300 to 320. So that's what I can handle with the available machine. Like with the 16 gig and with the 4-core machine, 4-core CPU, I can handle up to this many number of users, which is the simple could be like around 1200, the moderate could be around 600, and the complex would be around 320 users. So in our next video we will see how to scale the hardware between different machines. Say for example, this is all this I've given for just one machine. So in the next video we'll see how to do this with the master and slave machines, and that's going to be more interesting. So please do watch the next video, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Share the video with your friends who are confused of how many users my machine can support when I want to run a load test, or how many users my VM can support when I'm running a load test with using JMeter. So please just share with them and help them as well. Thank you so much, and until I see you in our next video, it's bye bye from us, and your favorite Little Salah YouTube channel. Take care and bye bye.